It is Sunday. It is 8 p.m. It is time for the sit down with LB. Hello, everyone. It's me, LB, back for another episode of the Sit Down with LB. I am doing this one on location. So many of you probably noticed that I am not at home in my normal surroundings. I'm actually in Philadelphia. This week and next week, I will be the festival artist with the Opera Philadelphia, where I serve as an artistic advisor. And so, even though I am away from home, it's great to be able to do the sit down with LB. I'm very, very happy also because it was the second day of professional football, and everybody knows that I'm a big football fan. And so I'm going to try very hard not to be looking at my fantasy football scores as we're on here because my guest deserves all of my attention. I wanted to say hi, Jim Lieberthal, Kelvin Page, Selena, Mo Williams. Thank you all for always being here and supporting me in this special week, as I have an incredible guest who needs no introduction. I'm absolutely honored to be joined by someone who sung with everyone all over the world, has done such an incredible career singing at the Metropolitan Opera and La Scala and Covent Garden and Paris and Hamburg and Liceo and Vienna and Zurich and Salzburg and Bayreuth, Chicago, San Francisco, all of the major opera houses in the world to great acclaim. Someone who is just so revered around the world, an incredible human being and humanitarian. I am honored to be joined today by the incomparable Simon Estes. How are you, sir?
Well, I am fine, thank you.
I hope your introduction, I actually gave them a smaller version because I could go on and on and on for all the things you've done. But welcome to the Sit Down with LB. How are you doing today, sir?
Well, I'm doing fine, having to be careful because of this COVID-19. So a lot of projects have been put on hold right now. But I want to say one thing. Yes, I've sung with all these great opera singers. And people quite often say, what do you still look forward to in your career? I said, well, now that I know Lawrence Braunley, that's my greatest desire, is to have the honor to sing with you before I kick the bucket.
I'm not worthy, sir. I am not worthy. I am not worthy. But that would be a tremendous, tremendous honor for you, for me. Oh my gosh, to be able to share the stage with you because, just your humility and the way that you've been so kind when we've begun to talk and touch base and set ourselves up for this talk. You've just been very, very gracious and so easy to talk with. So I appreciate that very, very much.
Well, my mother and father taught my three older sisters and me humility, and even though I'm very blessed, I give all the praise and glory to God. And I tried my very best just to remain a simple Simon.
So how many is it four of you then?
Yes, I have three older sisters. They're not living now. I was the youngest one.
Okay.
But I'm already 82 and 8 months, so I'm 82 and 8/12.
And very young and looking well and just sounding great. So, wow. I'm one of 6 kids, actually. I have 4 sisters and 1 brother. So it's 6 of us. So I come from a larger family as well. And music was in my family. It obviously was a part of yours as well. Is that correct?
It was. Of course, it was music from the church because when I grew up in Centerville, I didn't know anything about opera or classical music. But my mother played the piano, and my oldest sister, who's not living now, she had an incredible voice, singing voice. a classical voice. My
Okay.
mother, my mother, had she not been born in 1910, she would have been singing at the Metropolitan Opera if they would have let her. She had a
Hmm.
voice that was unbelievable, and so God gave me this talent, but He passed it through my mother to me.
Was she a soprano or a mezzo?
My mother had this incredible range. She could sing a high C and she could sing a low D by where my low D is down there. She literally could do that. Even up until she was about 85, 86 years of age. She made it almost to 95 before she went home to be with
Oh
the Lord.
my. Oh my. And but you said she had a classical voice, so she introduced classical music into the
No,
home at a.
no, the only classical music I heard was my oldest sister, who had also, as I said, a great voice, but she played the piano and she sang. And so the classical music was piano, Rachmaninoff and Grieg. But my mother just basically did spirituals, gospel songs, and hymns,
Yes.
church.
Well, church music. Well, when
Right.
was it you knew that you had an incredible first voice, but also an incredible bass or bass baritone voice? When did you know that?
It was in 1961. I was a student at the University of Iowa, and I wanted to sing in the university choir. And so I went to the director of the choir. He was also head of the voice department. I said, could I maybe sing in the university choir? He said, no, 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 your voice isn't good enough. I said, well, you're the head of the voice department. Could I take voice lessons with you? He said, no, you have no talent. I wouldn't waste my time with you. And I didn't really associate it immediately with a sociological problem of racism. I just was kind of surprised. And he said, however, there's a young teacher coming here this fall. That was September 1961. He said, maybe he'll take you. Now, that man's name was Charles Kellis. He came there. He heard me singing. And he said, you know, you have a voice to sing opera. And I said, what's opera? So he played the recordings for me, but with Cesare Siepi, the great Italian bass baritone,
Yes.
Leontyne Price, uh, and Maria Callas, and he played one symphony piece for me, Rimsky-Korsakov's Scheherazade, because he had to introduce me to classical and operatic music. And so after I heard all of that music, I said to him, I said, you know, I really like that stuff. I just call it stuff. For that man in 1961, and I do believe that God sent Charles Kellis to the University of Iowa in Iowa City in 1961 to discover Simon Estes.
Working in miraculous ways. And you
Yeah.
went to University of Iowa to study what? Was it? It wasn't music then.
Not at the beginning, though. It was pre-med, and then I was interested in theology, social psychology, until this teacher introduced me to this type of music. And Lawrence, you know, I feel that music was always inside of me, dormantly or latently, whatever you want to say, but I'd had no exposure to this type of music. And so Mr. Kellis introduced me to this classical music, and I just fell in love with it. So he gave me voice lessons for 2 years, and he said, Simon, you need to go to an all musical institution. So he arranged an audition for me at Juilliard School of Music. Now, shall I call you Larry or Lawrence?
Larry, is either one is fine.
Larry. Yeah, I'll say Larry. So he arranged this audition, and I'm telling you this because I was so naive. I didn't really know the magnitude of Juilliard School of Music. And I say that because I flew out there, never been to New York before, and I must say I think I was more excited about seeing the skyscrapers in 1963 when I went out to audition for Juilliard. I didn't have enough, one might say, knowledge to be scared. I hadn't learned fear. And so now, I mean, if I had this audition for Juilliard now, I'd be shaking like this, you know. But I just went out there, and I remember I sang King Philip's aria. I sang Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen, and sometimes I feel like a motherless child. I sang a song from the Brahms Fiorenska Gesänge. And when I finished singing, and I would later found out they don't normally do this, they said, would you just wait outside the hall? Now, this was at the old Juilliard, the original one up at 125th Street and Riverside Drive in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went out into the hall and I was just walking around, naive, this little colored kid from Centerville, Iowa. They called me back in, and this is how naive I was. They said, "Well, we've decided we would like to give you a scholarship to come to Juilliard School of Music." And I said, "Oh,
Wow.
okay." And they looked at me like I was some kind of a nut because I should have been jumping up and down, but I didn't realize what it was. And they said, "And your teacher said you didn't have any money, so we'll get you a Rockefeller, some assistance from the Rockefeller family." And I thought it was some family dealing in rocks. I didn't know it was the Rockefeller family. It's really Arthur Baird Rockefeller Foundation. They gave me a scholarship to go to Juilliard, and that's where it all started. I went to Juilliard in 1963.
Oh my gosh. And how was it leaving from Iowa to go to the bright lights of New York City? A
It was,
Baptist kid from Iowa.
yeah, it was an incredible experience, not only from an architectural point of view because of the big skyscrapers, but the size of the city and the hustle bustle that goes on in New York. But I was more concentrating on Juilliard. I got a job because I had to work there too. I worked in the kitchen washing pots and pans. When I was at the university, I might tell you, because my father never brought home more than a check for $18 a week for a family of six.
Oh
And
my.
so we were very, very poor economically speaking. And so I had no money. When I was at the University of Iowa, I scrubbed floors, I cleaned toilets, I cleaned windows. So when I went to Juilliard, I continued to do that. But then all of a sudden, I got a job at Lincoln Center at the Philharmonic Hall, as it was called back in 1963, 64, as a tour leader to earn some money. And
Mm-hmm.
so I enjoyed being in New York City. I was excited about it, and I was thrilled to be in Juilliard. Of course, once I was there, I slowly started to realize how important Juilliard School of Music was. Then I got
Then you got scared. But oh my gosh. Well, being in New York and being across, well, then it was, you said it was at 125th and Riverside. So it wasn't in the Lincoln
no, it
Center.
wasn't at the center yet. No,
And was
no.
that before the new Met? The new Met was built in 1960 something, was it not?
I think the Met was 63 or 64. Leontine opened it with Anthony and Cleopatra, I remember, and
Okay.
Justino Diaz was the bass. But I think the Met opened in 63 maybe, and
Okay.
Philharmonic Hall as it was called in those days, then Avery Fisher Hall, now it's something else. Uh, it was it was something that Juilliard wasn't there yet. I was still up
Mm-hmm.
25th Street and Riverside Drive, and then eventually Juilliard came down. And as a matter of fact, I ended up teaching at Juilliard for quite a while, many
Oh,
years, and
really?
I'm on the faculty, yes, and I taught at Juilliard.
Well, being in New York City and being around, you said you didn't really know, you were naive.
Right,
And
right.
of course, being at Juilliard, do you remember some of the singers that were there when you were studying? And did any of them go on to have successful careers?
Yes, I don't know if you knew the name Veronica Tyler. She just passed away recently. She was there. She won the Munich competition, first prize in 1963, and also she won in the Tchaikovsky competition
Okay.
1966, as I did. But there was another lady at Juilliard. Of course, Leontine and Shirley Verrett also went to Juilliard School of Music, but they weren't
Hmm.
there when I was there. But Veronica Tyler probably was the most famous one. There was a singer named, what was her name? She was at Juilliard also, but none of the main singers with whom I later sang with were at Juilliard other than Veronica Tyler. Oh,
Okay.
there was one, she was a Greek singer, and she was at Juilliard. Oh, what was her name? And she also died very, very young. Well, I'll think of it later. But most of this,
Yes.
what a lot of people don't realize, before Leontine Price, there were hundreds, thousands of people that went to Juilliard, but very few had international careers. I think
Hmm.
Leontine was one of the few that had this really, really great international career.
Yes. And so she really started a tradition. And
Yeah,
even the tradition that goes on today, people think if you want to have an international career, Juilliard is one of the places that you have to go through. And
absolutely,
so
absolutely.
And so
Yes.
when you realize that it was this type of now a budding legacy of Juilliard, and also I'm assuming you were studying as a primo basso, where you would be
Well,
singing
I
leading
never.
roles. Is that
Yeah.
true?
Well, what happened? I got in the opera theater. Christopher West was the head of the opera theater then, and the Peter Menon was the president of Juilliard, and Dean Waldrop was the main dean at Juilliard at that time. And so I was accepted, as I said, in the opera theater. And so I ended up doing a lot of small roles like Simone and Johnny Schicchi,
Mm-hmm.
Zarastro, and I coached with the very famous Sergius Kogan. He edited a lot of musical books. I coached with him, and basically I was just involved in opera and was learning some languages.
Mm-hmm. But singing all those small roles, did you
Small roles.
dream? Did
Yes.
you dream, and were people telling you then that you had an important voice to be singing all of the great primo basso roles, the
Well,
leading bass roles?
at that time, they didn't say that I had that potential. No, I had the potential, but I thought it was going to be way, way, way down the road. When I went to
Mm-hmm.
Juilliard in '63, as I said, I was there for 2 years. And in 1964, I had a chance to go to Germany and audition for an agent. I'll make this story as short as I can. So I flew over on the 24th of December and auditioned for this agent, Friedrich Posch in Dusseldorf. But I didn't have any money to fly over there, so I went to the NAACP. This is in December of '64, and I walked in again, my naivety from Centerville, Iowa, go in, and Roy Wilkins was the head of the NAACP in those days. So the receptionist said, "Oh, may I help you?" I said, "Well, yes." I said, "I'd like to speak with somebody because I need some money to go to Germany and sing an audition." Well, this lady looked at me like I was some kind of a nut. She said, "Well, we don't really have funds for something like that." And then I told her, I said, "Well, I'm a student at Juilliard School of Music." Wow, she changed immediately. She said, "Well, let me see if I can get someone to talk to you." I hadn't had an appointment or anything. So they put me in touch with somebody else. And I talked to this individual, and they said, "Well, we really don't have funds for an occasion such as this." They said, "But we were very touched with the way you presented yourself. So we're going to take up a collection here in the office." They took
Oh,
a collection of $287. Now keep in mind, this skinny colored kid from Centerville walking in this big building where the NAACP had their offices and talk to those people. I'll tell you what I'll tell you, Larry. God had arranged all of this because
yes.
all of this happened. It was all preordained.
Mm-hmm.
I had nothing to do except to try to fulfill what God wanted me to do. And then they
Mm-hmm.
told me to go to the New York Community Trust Fund and get a little more money, tell them that NAACP sent me there. So I go there. So I had about $800 to $1,000 to fly over to Germany. And I flew over on the 24th of December, 1964, landed in Dusseldorf Christmas morning, December 25th. I sang for Friedrich Posch. He was one of the top agents in Germany back in those days. And he
Mm-hmm.
liked my voice. I think I sang the 27th. I did an audition of December. He said, "Could you wait till after the first of the year?" Now, I'm still a student at Juilliard, see? I said, "Well,
Mm-hmm.
yes." He said, "I want to send you to Berlin, to the Deutsche Oper, to sing an audition." I didn't know what that was, except it was in Berlin. And I knew that there was a wall around Germany, a wall between East and West Berlin. So I waited. After the first of the year, now we're in '65, about maybe the 4th of January, I go to Berlin. Again, Larry, I promise you, I wasn't nervous. I still hadn't learned fear. I go out on the stage of the Deutsche Opers like Hamburg and Munich, those opera houses, and I
Yes.
sang some arias. When I finished singing, they said, "We'd like you to come and sing in Aida in April of this year, April
Oh
19th.
my gosh.
We'd like you to sing The King and Aida." And once again, I said, "Well, okay, I'll do it," I said. And so I flew there, go to Juilliard, spoke to Dean Waldrop. I said, "Dean Waldrop," I was all excited. I said, "They've asked me to come and sing in Berlin, The King and Aida." He said, "Well, Simon, you'll have to tell them no." He said, because if you don't finish Juilliard School of Music, you will never have a career. Well, my heart just sank. I
I'm
went to
sure.
West, who was the head of the opera theater at Juilliard. I figured he would understand. He was British. He said, well, I'll tell you, Simon, you'll have to tell them no. Because if you don't finish Juilliard School of Music, you shall never have a career. Well, my heart sank again. But you know, when God has arranged things, you got to listen. And he said,
Yeah.
go east, young man, go east. So I went east to Germany. I learned the King and Aida all in German and not Italian. I get there
Hmm.
about 9, 10 days before I was making my debut, and they told me I had to sing Ramphus in Aida, which is a bigger piece role. And I called Mr. Kellis, my teacher back in New York. I said, Mr. Kellis, they said that I have to sing Ramphus. And he said, see, he always called me Simone. And he said, I don't understand. Anyway, make a long story short, I learned it, Florence. God gave me a talent to memorize. I
Hmm.
learned that opera in about 7 days.
Oh,
I never met Gloria Davy or Richard Castley or Ruth Hesse or Ingvar Vixell, who also sang in that opera, nor the conductor Giuseppe Patane, a very famous Italian conductor who's no longer alive. I didn't meet any of those people until after the performance. I met them on the stage. I memorized it in German, all of Ramphus. I didn't have an orchestra rehearsal. I never had a rehearsal with any of my colleagues, and I still wasn't nervous because this naivety, I didn't realize, but it ended up being a protection for me. I wasn't
hmm.
really confident. I just thought, I'm just going to go out and sing. After the opera, Giuseppe Patane came back to my dressing room in Berlin. He said, nobody told me you were a beginner and you never sung the role. He said, I would have worked with you. He said, but you didn't make any mistakes, so it was okay. So they offered me some other roles in Don Carlo, in Moses and Aaron, and we took that to sing for the in Rome and for the Pope and all that. And my career just took off. And then in '66, the State Department heard about my singing in Germany, and I'd won a third prize at the Munich competition in 1965. I never did win a first prize. And they said, we'd like you to represent the United States in the Tchaikovsky competition in Moscow in 1965. We liked it. 66. Would you go? I said, yes. So they told me they would give me money to study Russian because you had to do certain things in Russian. Now, when I mentioned that Rompus and Aida, I had that all memorized in Germany. I go to the Tchaikovsky competition. They said they'd send me money, as I said, to study Russian. It never arrived. But again, God had it arranged. He said, go to the competition anyhow. I had all the repertoire except 4 things that I had to do in Russian. But in the first round of the competition, I only sang one song in Russian. God had arranged this. I flew from East Berlin to Moscow, and just by God having had this lady sitting next to me, she was a Russian actress from Moscow, but she spoke German, and I spoke a little German. She asked why was I going. I said, well, I'm going to represent the United States. My State Department asked me to represent the United States in the 1966 Tchaikovsky music competition. Plus, it's the first time it was open to singers. I said, and I had the book all in Russian, in Cyrillic, not English. I said, could you maybe teach me a song phonetically in Russian? She
Oh
taught me a
my.
song of 3 hours, Ni slova, o drug moj, which was not a word of my friend, until I get to Moscow. 3 hours, I had the song learned, but I hadn't done it with the piano. And they had Irina Zorina. This is all in 1966. She was my pianist. She said, what sing you, English, Russian? I said, Ni slova on drug. I could hardly pronounce it, but I said, she said, oh, Ni slova o drug moj. I said, yes. So she cleaned it up for me. So in the first aria, I sang I sang King Philip's aria. I sang Ni slova o drug moj and some other repertoire. And I was advanced to the second round. She said, what sing you Russian in round 2? And I said, well, I don't know anything else in Russian. Where her heart just dropped. She probably thought she was going to end up in Siberia playing for this black American. He didn't even really. She taught me Grayman's aria from Eugene Onegin, and she taught me Sredshum Nogabala, and also 2 other Russian songs. I learned those songs in 2.5 days in Russian. I got advanced to the third round of the competition. George London was one of the American jurors. He said I would have won first prize, but in Grayman's aria, I forgot the words. I had a complete blank. Get this now, I still wasn't nervous. Grayman's
Mm-hmm.
lasts, it's like ABA section. It lasts about 6 hours. I did it in 2 minutes. Grayman's aria is like Old Man River in Russia. But anyhow, I ended up getting the third prize, and then they invited me, and I came back for President Johnson, the Hollywood Bowl, sang with Eric Leinsdorf, and then my career just took off. But it's always like the Lord arranged all of this, and I didn't know that God had given me a talent for languages and a talent to memorize. I could memorize any opera in 4 to 5 days. I've done it, and I'm not bragging or boasting. I've done it.
That is a tremendous gift. But when you talk about how things were lined up, and
Yes,
of course, we talk about faith, and I
yes.
am a person who faith is very, very important to me, and I know it is with you. But knowing that your steps are ordered, and how many things just become so easy because they were predestined before you were even born. You believe that, yes?
I believe that 100% God had all of this arranged. In fact, I've been singing now since professionally as since April 19th, 1965. And as I told you before, I've sung 102 roles in opera since then. I've sung with
102 roles.
115 orchestras all around the world, 84 opera houses. This is all documented. This is
Oh
all
my.
And I sometimes, Larry, I think, how did I learn all of that music? And I fell in love with me. I mean, I've done everything from Bach, all of Bach's works, whether it's a Magnificat or the St. Matthew Passion, St. John Passion, B minor Mass, a Haydn Creation, Haydn Seasons, all of the Requiems, Mozart, Fauré, Verdi, American, Brahms, all of this repertoire.
Oh
And
my.
I had never really studied that music because I got a chance to go to Juilliard, chance to go to Berlin, and then chance to go to Munich. This is that competition, got third prize in 65. Then Tchaikovsky in 66. Everything was prearranged, preordained by God.
Your steps were ordered.
It was yes.
Oh my gosh. And so when you realize that you talk about not having the fear because you
Mhm.
felt like something in you had to say that I know this is what I should be doing. I know that I'm following the gift. Sometimes they say that your gift, in the Bible says this, that your gift will make room for you. And
Yes.
you just go, and your boldness, not arrogance, but your
Right.
confidence in the thing that you felt that you had, the gift that was invested in you, you just went following that thing because you had, again, as you said, no fear because you knew you had something special inside you. Correct?
You know, I've done lots of interviews all around the world, and again, that's not to try to impress you or the audience, but I never thought about so much what's going on in my life because all of a sudden I got in with Columbia Artist Management in New York City in 1966, right after the Tchaikovsky competition. That
Mm-hmm.
first year I was with Cami, they got me 25 recitals in 1 year. And I did a lot. I did Schubert and Brahms and Mahler, all these art songs and Negro spirituals. And I was so busy learning new music constantly. And I ended up having an agent in London, in Paris, in Berlin, in Dusseldorf, in Spain. I mean, I sang a lot in Barcelona, the Liceo. Everything just happened, but I had to work hard. I never did smoke. I never did drink. I lived a good Christian spiritual life, and I was constantly learning new music. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize what had happened to me until 1983, probably. I built a home in New Jersey when I started singing a lot more in America. And I bought 3 acres of land and built this house and had my children there, 3 daughters. And one day after dinner, I walked out and I walked around the house and I thought, wow, that's my house. I built that house. because the little house I was born in, Centerville, Iowa, which is still there, it's 25 feet by 27 feet. I was born in that house on March 2nd, 1938, and the doctor came out and delivered me because colored people couldn't have babies in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the doctor who delivered me knew my father before they both came to Centerville, Iowa. And
Okay.
Dr. Brummett was his name. Get this, he breastfed on my grandmother. My grandmother was a wet nurse to the white doctor who delivered me in this world, in this little house, and that little house is still in 910 East Jackson Street in Centerville, Iowa. No running water, no electricity, no indoor toilets, nothing. That's how poor we were. We had candles. The light got dark.
Oh
And
my gosh. This is amazing. Listen to your story and the huge international success that you've become and all the roles that you've sung and all the people you sung with. And I know that, you've sung everything from Verdi and you say you sang Bach and you sang, of course, Wagner. Can we talk about Wagner a bit?
well,
And
yes, I
please.
did my first Flying Dutchman in Zurich in 1977. Helmut Klaus Drese was the intendant at the Zurich Opera House. And so I sang an audition for him in 1977. And he said to me, you know what? I would like you to open the season, next season, he said, in 78, with a new production of Macbeth. And I thought he meant Banco. And I said, you mean Banco? He said, no, the title role of Macbeth. I said, well, he said, I really feel you can sing that role. I said, but I can't sing it. He said, why? I said, because my friend, Norman Mittelman, he was a great Verdi baritone. He's not living now, but he was a friend of mine and his wife and his family. I said, and Norman sings that role. I said, but I'll be happy to sing Banco. He said, no, it's going to be a new production opening the season. I said, I can't do that to my friend. He said, I've never met an opera singer like you. Here I'm offering you a new production, title role in the season, and you're not going to accept it because of your friendship? I said, that's right. I said, I won't do it. I will sing Banco. I said, but Norman is my friend. He said, well, I have nothing else to offer you. Come back and see me next year. So I went that next year, and he said, well, I'd like to do in April a new production of Porgy and Bess. I'd like you to do Porgy. And I said to Mr. Reza, I said, I can't sing my first role as Porgy here because I will be stereotyped. And he looked at me and he said, you're quite a businessman. I said, no. I said, I'm just being realistic. I said, if I make my first debut in Zurich as Porgy, I will be stereotyped.
Mhm.
He said, well, look, what if I do this for you? Will you sing in the spring a new production of Porgy and Bess? And then in September, I'll do a new production. You can open the season with Hildegard Behrens singing The Flying Dutchman, De Vliegende Hollander. I said, well, okay. I said, well, I guess that'll be okay because I will have done Porgy, and 5 months later, I'm doing The Flying Dutchman. And
Mhm.
so that's what happened. But while I was rehearsing The Flying Dutchman in Zurich, Wolfgang Wagner heard about me, contacted me, here's God again, contacted me, asked would I come to Bayreuth and sing an audition.
Bayreuth.
Bayreuth, the mecca of Wagnerian music. Still
Absolutely.
didn't know how, have enough sense to be scared. So I fly, I've been in rehearsals at Zurich. I flew there, he had me sing, and I finished singing. He said, I would like you to come and open the season in Bayreuth in 1977 in the title role of De Vliegende Hollander. And I thought he was going to give me Daland. He said, no, Den Hollander. I said, okay, I'll do it. So I went back to Zurich, sang it. Then in I went to Bayreuth. It was 68. Yeah, by now I went to 1968 that I did the Dutchman in Bayreuth. And so, and that just, people started asking me to sing other Wagner repertoire. So I've sung all of the Wotan's and Der Wanderer, The Flying Dutchman, King Mark, Landgraf, all of the Wagner operas I've sung except Meistersinger.
Oh my gosh. Here's a question for you. Did those people at Juilliard who said that you would never have a career, did they come back and with their legs, with their tail between their, however the saying goes?
Yeah,
Because obviously,
well, what
yes.
happened is Joseph Polizzi was now the president of Juilliard. He contacted me and asked me would I come and teach at Juilliard. And I said, well, I'm singing all around the world. I said, he said, no, but we don't care, Simon. We want you to come and teach at Juilliard. So I taught there one whole year at Juilliard. And then I told him, I said, I'm traveling so much, it's not fair to my students. And so he said, well, Simon, could you find someone who would teach the way you sing and the way you teach? I said, yes, my voice teacher, Mr. Callis, because he was living in New York. So I got him that job. But it's Lawrence, the whole career is like a fairy tale. It really is, because all of these things happen. But I will tell you something interesting. Remember that teacher at the University of Iowa who wouldn't let me sing in the choir and said I had no talent and he wouldn't waste his time with me? Well, I sang in San Antonio, Texas with the orchestra, and I did arias I did Wotan's Abschied, one of the famous arias from Parsifal that Amforta sings, the Flying Dutchman aria, etc., etc. After that concert, Harold Stark, that was his name, this man at the University of Iowa who said I had no talent, blah, 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 blah. I didn't know he was in the performance. He was in the performance. He came back afterward, and he looked at me and he extended his hand. He said, well, Simon, I see you've done quite well for yourself. I said, well, thank you, Mr. Stark, and that was it. And a lot of people said, some of my brothers said, how did you work that out? I said, it took a lot of courage to the guy that told me I had no talent and no voice, and he wouldn't waste his time with me. He came back afterwards and said, well, you've done quite well for yourself. I said that was his apology. He
Right.
cried,
And
tells it to forgive him anyhow, so I had to
I
forgive.
was I was going to say that your humility and also your Christian faith
Yeah,
didn't cause you to become too big,
right,
or too arrogant, because that's just not something that you, a man of faith, would do. But
right,
for him to come, that probably took everything in him, and for you to
right.
acknowledge that it took so much for him just to
Mm.
come and say that, that was enough for you. Yes.
That's enough for me. Absolutely enough for me, yes. I
Oh
had a
my gosh.
along the career. I had a lot of racism when I was doing a lot of recitals. Columbia Artist Management arranged concerts for me in the South. I was accused of stealing a white woman's jewelry in a hotel one time,
Oh
and
my.
I was sitting in a restaurant. Some three white rednecks walked in that restaurant and saw me sitting there with my accompanist. His name was Harold Brown. He was a big, tall, white guy, taller than I was. They walked in. They said, "Look at that black in," and they called me that in the restaurant. And Harold, as I said, he was a really big guy. And he started to say, I said, Harold, don't say anything. I said, there are only two of us and there are three of them, and we got to walk out of this restaurant. I mean, a lot of those things happened to me, but my parents taught me never to hate white people. They
Hmm.
said, when they are not nice to you and mistreat you, you must pray for them. And I learned that something way back in Centerville, Iowa. My mother taught me some wonderful faith ideas and principles from the Bible. And one was never to hate. You have to pray for those people. I remember in the early 70s, I was living in New York. I called home to my mother. I said, Mother, I've sung in Paris and London and Rome and Vienna, and I listed all these places. I said, but they won't let me sing in some of the opera houses in my own country. And I was crying tears. My mother
Hmm.
said, get down on your knees and you pray. So I prayed, and I've sung in all the major opera houses in the United States. So,
Yes.
and courage are very important parts of my character.
Well, obviously, your belief in that, and I know your story is that in the beginning they were giving you small roles, but later on you began to sing all the roles that you should be singing, and you felt that that was a result of your praying and people recognizing that you had this exceptional talent and you should be singing the Botans and all of the Parsifal roles, and it in these major houses. Afterwards, it happened. Yes.
I'll tell you what I think was very interesting, Lawrence. I was offered roles like Scarpia and the Flying Dutchman very early in my career. And my teacher said, Simone, I know you have all of the notes in your voice. He said, but you're not ready to sing those roles yet. Not even emotional. You sing a character, he said, like Scarpia. I'm talking about in the early 70s, I was offered these roles. And I'm so grateful that this teacher, Mr. Kellis, gave me. Now, look, for him, it would have been great if he had his singer singing all these big roles. He said, wait, Simone, wait. And I'm very grateful that I did wait. And here's just something that's kind of like a paradox. When I got with Columbia, they tried to get a lot of dates for me. They wouldn't engage me. So they got a lot of recitals, like I told you. That first year I was with Cammie, I did 45 recitals. That's right. I got paid about $500 a concert. Thought I was a millionaire, of course, and we ended up being. Columbia got their 15%, had to pay taxes, had to pay the accomplice, my airplane ticket, his airplane ticket, etc. But what I realized, it was a blessing, not that I'm condoning the way they treated me and would let me sing in the opera houses, but I just did a lot of recitals of Schubert and Brahms and Mahler and Negro spirituals. And so I was able to keep the flexibility in singing pianissimo. And for all of that, I realized even though the discrimination was hurting and it pained me, and yes, I cried tears, but I realized, well, God works in mysterious ways. I didn't burn myself out. I didn't start singing those Wotan and those Wagner until I was 40 years old, and
Oh
young
my.
singing in their late 20s. And so that's
Exactly.
why, in a way, it was a blessing.
A blessing in disguise. But it also taught you patience. Taught you
Yes.
patience, and it taught a certain work ethic to make sure that as singing these recitals, recitals call for you to dot the I's and cross the T's, and the preparation where you have to be so detailed in all of the voice, not just singing loud, that people think Wagner is just singing loud, but you
Right.
have to be a complete musician. And I'm sure that experience really made you focus in on those things, which later on, I'm sure, made your Wagner and everything else you did, the Verdi, so much more meaningful because it was filled with all these colors and different ideas that recital singing taught you.
And Lawrence, you're absolutely correct. Because I could sing a pianissimo anywhere in my voice. And I'm not bragging or boasting, but I did all of those recitals at the beginning of my career because they just wouldn't let me sing opera.
Mhm.
And now that I've sung all of these roles, 102 roles, and I can still sing, I don't believe I would have still be singing today if I'd have started singing those roles in the early 70s, see.
Mhm.
So the racial discrimination, which was terrible and is wrong, it it helped me to have a long career. I really did. And
Mhm.
when I sang in Bayreuth, I still got critics I could show you. And even in Moscow wrote Simon Estes had the best interpretation and diction in the whole competition. When I
Mhm.
sang in Bayreuth, they said he sang it bel canto. They said we've never
Mhm.
heard Wagner sing this way. It wasn't Bach, but that was because of the recitals that I did and those
Mhm.
spirituals singing from my heart. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen but
Mhm.
Jesus. All of that helped prepare me for the longevity that God has given me and is still allowing me to sing.
Oh my gosh. I'm just thinking of, I mean, I know we're talking about faith, but the scripture says what the devil meant for harm, or the saying, what the devil meant for harm, it was really for your good. And what for people, they meant to harm you in holding you down. But
Yes.
all that did was set you up to be so much more successful for a longer period of time.
Lawrence, I could go on for hours telling you stories that I encountered as a black man without ever compromising my faith, my values, my principles, or my morality. These parts of my character I never would compromise. I was really underpaid. I was singing out in San Francisco, the leading bass roles in operas with Pavarotti and Domingo and Jose Carreras. I mentioned tenors because you're a tenor, Richard Katz, all those things. And those guys, I'm talking about early 70s, mid 70s, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know exactly what their fees were, but way back then they were probably getting 15, 20,000 a performance. You know what they
Mhm.
paid me? $257 a performance. And Kurt Adler, who was the director of the Opera House in San Francisco, told Michael Reese, my manager, who was vice president of Columbia Artists Management, take it or leave it. And so Michael Reese said, Simon, you need to sing with Pavarotti and Domingo and Franey and Beverly Sills. He said, I'm sorry, it's wrong. I said, okay, I will do it. I was not happy about it. I was sad. I didn't become bitter, but I sang, and it was important to sing with those people.
Mm-hmm.
I sang with Birgit Nielsen early in my career. I sang with
Oh.
Joan Sutherland, with Mirella Fraley, Leontine Price, Grace Bumbry, Shirley Verrett. All those people I sang
Jesse
with.
Norman,
Jesse Norman, Kathleen Battle,
Florence Quivar,
Florence Quivar,
Hildegard Behrens, you said earlier.
Hildegard Behrens. I mean, all of these, and all these
my
great,
gosh.
I've sung with
Operatic royalty.
90 of the world's greatest conductors, going back to Leonard Bernstein, Eric Leinsdorf, Eugene Ormandy, all the way up to Mehta, Muti, Mazel, all these people. And you know that's God, because how can a little skinny colored get in front of it? And people ask me now, they say, how can you still sing like that? I say, it's God singing through me, because I know as a normal human being, at almost 83, I shouldn't be able to sing.
And you still sing today?
Yes, I'm still singing, yes, yes.
And how much do you concertize or sing performances now? I know
Well,
you're teaching full-time.
Yeah, I'm teaching at Iowa State University. I've been teaching there actually 22 as a visiting professor. I taught at Boston University for 5 years. I've done lectures at Harvard University, Duke University, Moscow Conservatory, Paris Conservatory, Barcelona. I've taught all over the world. I've given master classes. And so right now, I would say since this COVID-19 came up, a lot of things got postponed. I don't know if I mentioned to you, they're making a movie about my life.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Yeah, I've only gotten started with it because my grandfather was a slave, sold for $500. I have pictures of my grandfather who was slave for $500. My father couldn't read or write. He was taken out of school because he was born in 1891, and my father fought in the First World War, but he couldn't read or write. But he told me, son, you must get an education. That's something I can never take away from you. And my mother and my father, I had the most beautiful upbringing in a great Christian family. When I was 11 years old, I read the Bible through together with my mother. She said one time, son, want to read the Bible through with me? I said, well, yes, mother. I was 11 years old. You read 3 chapters a day, you ought to do it. You read 3 chapters a day and 5 on Sunday, you complete the Bible in a year. And my foundation of my entire life has been on the Bible, church, faith, my faith in God, in Jesus Christ. And that's why I never became bitter. As a human being, I had a right to hate white people because of what they did, not only to me, but to my daddy. I could tell you stories with how they treated my daddy in Centerville, Iowa. We couldn't swim in the swimming pool with white people. Eventually, they would let us swim, but only on Saturdays from 9 o'clock until 11. Then we had to get out of the swimming pool, and then they put more disinfectant in the water. That's why a lot of black people don't swim a lot, because we didn't have access. We couldn't swim. Like Arthur Ashe, who broke the tennis thing. We couldn't play tennis in Centerville, Iowa. Black people couldn't play on the golf course. But through all of these things, my mother and father taught me, don't get bitter, son. You'll only hurt yourself. Stay strong with your faith in God and be kind. Be kind. Be forgiving.
Oh my gosh. Well, your parents have obviously instilled in you a trust and faith in God and a sense of self, and that has led you to do all of the wonderful accomplishments that you've done in your life. Do you ever just step back and say, you're probably only giving me a fraction of the things you've done, because you've done so many things. But do you ever sit back, and you said before that you thought about it, and just sit there and think, all the incredible things I've been blessed by God to do, I can't even believe it still. Do you ever think that?
Yes. As I said to you before, I walked around that house in New Jersey. I would never forget it. And that's when I started reflecting. This was 1983, 84. And I thought, I built this house. And this house, the garage, is bigger than the house that I grew up in. This house is a
Oh,
two-car garage. And I thought, how could I learn all of that music? I mean, I've got scores. I can't believe it. But it's all because God preordained it, and my mother and father told me never to become bitter. When I was growing up in Centerville, if I would, for example, came home and told my mother that a white boy called me at the N word or hit me, my mother said, well, now, son, you get down on your knees and you pray for that boy. Well, when you're 9, 10, 11 years of age, you think there's something wrong with your mother. Mother, I said, he hit me. He called me the N word. Get down on your knees and pray, son. Well, when I called her in the 70s, crying in New York about they wouldn't let me sing in those opera houses in the United States, she said, remember what I told you, little boy? Get down on your knees and you pray. Okay, I've sung at the Met in Chicago, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, all the opera houses in the States I've sung. You know, all 84 opera houses in the world. My manager told me, who's retired in Germany right now, she said something. I've never looked into this, Lawrence, but she said, Simon, I have a feeling you might have done something that nobody else has done in the world. I don't know of
mhm,
any singer that has sung with 115 orchestras around the world, or in 84 different opera houses,
mhm.
or 102 roles, 90 of the world's greatest conductors. All of that has happened since April 19th, 1965, up until now. And
Isn't
that
that amazing?
that's the goal. I know I wanted to talk with you a lot about music and things, but I want people to know how important it is for people to have access. See, had I had access to classical music and exposure to it at a younger age, that would have been one thing. But I didn't have any access to this
Hmm.
type of music. But once this teacher played it for me, it was always inside of my heart and my mind,
Hmm.
but it had no exposure to it. And that's
Exactly.
what it's all about. And music, as Shakespeare said, is the international language of the world. I never
Absolutely.
that I would sing for two popes at the Vatican. I never dreamed I would sing for the Nobel Prize Committee. I didn't dream I would meet kings and queens around the world. I didn't dream I would, this all happened, Lawrence,
You
so fast.
met.
I was
You
so busy
met.
at the time, I didn't have time to think about things. I was busy learning the music, and I've sung for 23 presidents all around the world. I've sung for 6 presidents of the United States, from President Johnson all the way up through Barack Obama.
Oh my! And you met Nelson Mandela. What was
Young
that
Nelson
like?
Mandela. I was in his cell on Robben Island where he was unjustly incarcerated for 27 years. I sang for Nelson Mandela and Archbishop David Desmond Tutu. I've sung for 7 Nobel Prize winners. This is all because of love and God is love, and that music is something that touches people's hearts. And you and I, we are blessed that God gave us. Just think those two little old vocal cords, vocal
Hmm.
folds, can produce the sounds that you and I and all the other opera singers in the world can produce. Now, I was a great lover of Nat King Cole, Perry Como, Frank Sinatra, all that type of
Hmm.
music that I grew up with.
Me too.
Put them on the stage at the Met, and without a microphone, you wouldn't hear them with an orchestra. Now, I'm not
Hmm.
saying that you and I have better voices than Nat King Cole or Perry Como or Frank Sinatra or Bing Crosby. I mean, I sang with Bing Crosby. But anyhow,
Oh,
God, these little vocal folds, and I'm not saying we're better, but they're special. And
yes.
that's why I give the Lord credit for this, because other singers cannot do this, and they have
Hmm.
beautiful voices.
Hmm.
And so it's. I tell people, can you imagine when God created mankind? He know how. Of course, God is a creator of all, but
Hmm.
He gave talent to people in the third chapter of Genesis. Lamech, he had 2 sons. One son's name was Jubal, and he gave him a talent to make stringed instruments, a lyre. We call it the harp now. His other,
Hmm.
it's all in the Bible, in the first 3 chapters of Genesis. And he gave him a talent to work with brass. Most people don't know. I ask students when I give lectures, I said, who was the first composer of music? And they will think, and some might say, well, maybe Monteverdi or Mozart. I said it was King David in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
King,
Mm-hmm.
and he played on that harp to calm Saul down. Little David, play on your harp. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Music is therapeutic. That's why we have musical therapy. Music
Yes.
is wonderful. And you and I, Lawrence, we are blessed to think that we sing the music that these great people compose. You know what I started doing about 4 or 5 years ago? I
Mm-hmm.
started and thanking God that He gave a talent, a gift to Mozart and Verdi and Puccini and Donizetti and Bellini and Wagner. Whether those men thanked the Lord, I don't know, but I know God gave them, some of those composers, they were writing symphonies when they were 5 and 7 years old. That's
Mm-hmm.
They hadn't gone to a conservatory.
That was all, but that was only God.
It was only God. He gave the talent to them. Like He gave
Yeah.
to you. I sure hope to sing with you someday. I want to sing with Lawrence. That's my dream. Larry Brown. I just want to sing.
That would be the greatest. That would be one of the great honors of my life. Well, all the music, even the thing, we are taught as Christian men that we should use our voice for good, and you have been using your voice for humanitarian work. Would you talk about the thing you've been doing, the programs you've been working with in Africa and the United Nations? Will you talk about those?
Yes. Well, the first time I went to Africa was in Cape Town, and I arrived at the airport, and there was this choir singing in Kosa. I never heard voices like that in my life. And so I was singing at the opera company, and I asked them, "What is this choir?" They said, "Well, Simon, they're singing in Kosa. They're saying, 'Welcome home, Simon Estes. We love you.'" My heart was touched, so I said, "I want to see the school where they go in Kailicha, which is a suburb of Cape Town. Kailicha. When you go there again, ask about Kailicha." I went out, these kids, there were 4,000 kids, no buildings or nothing. They were sitting on the dirt. And teachers who were not qualified, as we would call them, but they were doing the best they could.
Mm-hmm.
So that same day I went out to that school, I went back into Cape Town. I bought them a brand new upright piano because they had no
Oh,
instruments at all. I brought 41 of them over here. They went to high schools in 15 different high schools here in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa area. I brought them over here, and they sang for Bill Clinton. They've sung for royalty. But anyhow, when I was in 2010, I was asked to sing in the grand finale concert in Cape Town. I mean in Johannesburg for the soccer. And your colleague Andrea Bocelli, he and I were the two main artists. Before I went out to sing, the black moderator was a lady, African lady. She said every 30 seconds, a child in Africa was dying from malaria, from a mosquito bite.
oh,
And 1 million children, 5 years of age and under, were dying every year. Every 30 seconds, a child was dying, and 90% of all of the malaria deaths are in sub-Saharan Africa.
mm,
Again, to make a long story short, God put that on my heart. This was 2010 in Johannesburg. My wife and I in 2013 had been bothering me so much, I flew out to the United Nations Foundation with my wife and asked them, I want some statistics about what's happening. And they told me that that's absolutely true. And this was 2013. I said, well, how many children have died in the last 20 years? They said 20 million little black children, 5 years of age and under,
oh
were
my gosh.
needlessly dying. All they needed was a $5 treated net under which to sleep so the mosquito couldn't bite them and transmit it to somebody else. So the Lord put that on my heart in 2013. I did a big concert up at Iowa State University where I'm a professor in the Hilton Coliseum. We had, I don't know, over 5,000 people in that concert, raised $100,000. Sent every penny of it to the United Nations Foundation, nothing but nets. And then I thought, I got to do more. So I did concerts here in Iowa with high school choirs, 52 high schools. I would go sing concerts. I got some local businessmen here in Iowa. And so in less than a year, I raised $432,000
Oh,
and gave it all to the
bravo.
nothing but nets, nothing but nets. And we said, and some people found out what I had done and anonymously said $265,000, and another person said $100,000. So that
That's
five,
close to $1 million.
yes, it's close to the 532,000 that I raised, and I give all the credit to the Lord. Uh, it was almost $1 million, so we saved a lot of lives, and I'm still working on that project. Something, you made me think of something. Just show you something here.
Oh, Mr. Estes, this is such a treat. I am sitting here. Oh,
Can you see that?
yes, I can see it. No more malaria in Africa. Buy a CD, save a life. That is, oh my gosh. But you're still involved with this even today as
Oh,
well?
yeah, I'm still raising money for it. In fact, I have a spiritual album coming out this month, and I hired somebody to do it. I've done a whole bunch of 17 Negro spirituals, gospel songs, and I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
sell it for $15. I'm going to give $5 to the Iowa Food Bank because we got hungry people here in Iowa now because of
Mm-hmm.
COVID-19, and
Mm-hmm.
$5 to buy the nets I'm sending out to the United Nations. They have made me the singing ambassador of the United Nations. What
Oh,
you know what they did? I was very humbled by this. I sang for the 25th anniversary of the United Nations, and that was in San Francisco because that's where it was originally founded, 75 years ago. I sang for the 50th anniversary of the United Nations Foundation. That was in Munich, Germany. And I thought, well, I'll never make the 75th. Well, June 26th of this year, I sang for the United Nations Foundation. So I sang for the 25th, the 50th, and 75th. No other singer in the world has done that. But I'm doing all of this because I'm raising money to save these children's lives in Africa. Can you imagine? We eradicated malaria in the United States in 1951, 52. These little black children have needlessly been dying all of these years. 20 million children
70
died.
years later. 70 years later.
Yeah.
That's
So we have
insane.
work to do because these little lives are important. These little black children's lives in Africa. You see, we're all God's children. People talk about many times when I do lectures, I ask kids, how many races are there? They'll raise their hand. Some will say five, or somebody say seven. One time somebody said, well, hundreds. I said, no, there's only one, the human race.
The
One
human race.
human race. And we're different because God made us different colors to
Mm-hmm.
test the quality of our character. Can we love someone else if they look different from the way we look, have a different skin color, different
Mm-hmm.
shapes of their eyes? Once we get beyond this epidermis, this outer skin
We're all
level,
the
we're
same.
all the same. So
Mm.
he's testing our qualities. And God doesn't like evil and he doesn't like liars. He only loves truth and love. And that's what has guided me my whole life is love and my faith. I read my Bible every day. Let's say out of 365 days, I might miss 10 days out of 365 not reading my Bible. But I read it and study it every day. I've read it through three times.
Oh
My wife
my.
got married. We decided to start our first year out reading the Bible in these three chapters a day, five on Sunday. So good. Instead of taking 12 months, we did it in 7 months. And just that's where I get my foundation. And God constantly tells all of us when we are blessed, we are to be humble. And that's something that I will never lose is humility.
Well, will you tell everyone where they can get the CD? Because
Yeah.
I want to get the CD too, and and
Hey.
I will talk to you later. But I want to donate something to your foundation to help these kids in
Well,
Africa, and I know I want to.
okay. Well, you don't have to do that. I hadn't even thought of that. I really mean that sincerely, but it'll be for the children. But the CD is called. It's going to be on. I don't know how to do all of this, but they told me what's being done. So I've got somebody at Iowa State. He's got
Hmm.
it all set up that you're going to be able to go online and stream like it. And I have these 17 Negro spirituals and gospel songs that I'm selling it for the whole thing for $15.
Hmm.
And of course I got to pay. It's called Baby LB Baby. I can't remember, but like Amazon.
CD baby,
Huh?
CD baby. I think
Yes, that's
it's
it. It
called
is.
CD baby,
Thank
and
you.
And the title of it will be what? Because some of
We're,
my listeners are asking for it, and I think you'll have
right.
some people that go and buy it.
It's going to be explaining the importance of Negro spirituals, the message that are in Negro
Okay.
spirituals. And also, I did a song called Save the Children, Save Their Lives. That's the only song that's not a Negro spiritual, but it's on that CD, Save the Children, Save Their Lives. And I have all these spirituals, and I'm going to give money for the Save Children's Lives in Africa and the Iowa Food Bank. I've already talked to them. That's all set up. And then the rest I have to pay money for all the CDs and all that sort of thing. But it'll be coming. I can give you the title probably at the end of this week. By the end of this week, I'll give
Okay.
it and you can tell it on your next program how
I
to
surely
get.
will do
There are
it.
about 12, I think they said Amazon, YouTube, all those people are going to be, there are about 12 of them that you'll be able to go on and get it.
Well, thank you. Please do, because I mean, my listeners are faithful and they will want to go get this, but I want to get it, and also
Okay.
I'm definitely going to send something to you because I believe in the work you're doing, but your generosity and your humility and just your desire to help others is something that is very very touching. And even at this chat window, people, I don't, maybe you can't see it, but people are just talking about how refreshing it is to hear your story and your that you're being an incredible witness. And a lot of people are people of faith. You know, Leon Brown and Tony Barnum, Darren Flagg. So many of these people are commenting how great it is to hear from someone who's accomplished everything in the world of music. I mean, when you sit there and think about your career, there isn't. Is there something that you think I didn't do that? Because to me, it seems like you've done everything.
I have been blessed. We're put on this earth for two main reasons: to serve the Lord and to serve one another. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what when I pray, I say, Lord, I just want to do your will for the rest of my life. And this big globe, this world we have, God created it all. And He
Mm-hmm.
likes for all of us to love one another. We need to put aside what color somebody is. We are all human beings. And we're living in difficult times right now. And the way people say, how are we going to get this racial situation worked out? It can only be done through love and prayer. I think ministers need to start talking about it in church and telling people God loves all of us. Parents need to start teaching their children when they're
Mm-hmm.
about 4 years of age
Mm-hmm.
about you have to love everybody. And love is the greatest force that we possibly have on this planet Earth. God says, be kind to the foreigner. If people would read that wonderful book, the Bible, it gives us guidelines how to be a good, caring, loving, kind human being and forgiving. The forgiveness is vital.
Mm.
Some of the last word Jesus said was, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they
What they
do.
do, yes.
Forgiveness is very important, but I'm honored to be on your LB program. Roundly, and
Mr. This has been so inspirational, uplifting, inspiring. I mean, I could go on and on, but I am just so honored. Sadie and Mark Rucker, they are saying hello to in the window here, but so honored that you would take the time to just impart wisdom, but just talk about your life and your incredible career and experiences and all that you accomplished, that you have accomplished, but just to see your level of humility and care for others is just so inspiring. I am really at a loss for words, but all I can say is thank you, thank you, thank you, Mr. Estes.
well, it is my honor and my privilege, and God bless you and your lovely family. And we're going to sing together because I'm going to make sure you're going to be in my docudrama.
From your lips to God's ears, or somebody, some
Yeah,
producer,
we're going
I
to do.
would be honored. I would be honored to share the stage with you, sir.
Well, we'll have to make that happen. So
Yes,
thank you, and may God
thank you.
bless you and direct you and protect you and your family. And I'd like to say the last thing to the audience, please, ladies and gentlemen and children, let's love each other. Let's be kind to one another. Let's help each other. Let's forgive if somebody hurts us or causes us a problem. Let's forgive. but let's work together for peace and for kindness. And God bless all of you, and God bless you too.
Thank you, Mr. Estes. I'm moved. I'm touched. Continued blessings to you. Stay safe. Once this COVID thing is over, the first thing I'm going to be trying to do is find Simon Estes so I can get somebody to let us sing together. I'm not worthy to share the same stage with you, but I am just, it'll be so amazing to happen.
It's going to happen.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And everyone, my gosh, was this not an amazing conversation with Simon Estes? I am just really floored by just everything he said and just his kindness. And some of the people are wanting part 2, and if he is available and not doing too much, I'll have to get him back for a part 2 because there's a lot more to talk about. But thank you all. Thank you for constantly supporting me. Janine Coleman, David Alejandro, Kate Bolton, Marcella Tehran, Robert Lamar Davis, Selena Perryman, David Simmons, Darren Flagg, Jim Lieberthal, Stephanie Van Rigersberg, all these people. Yes, it was unbelievable. Tony Villeco, Ricky Epps, Leon Brown, Gina Marks. I could just keep going on and on and on, but this has meant a lot to me. Make sure you guys, everyone, Ramel Brooks, tune in next Sunday. Next Sunday, I will have a special guest, and I just need to confirm it, but I have an incredible guest that will be here next week. So thank you all for being here again for another episode of the Sit Down with LB. We will see you next Sunday.